What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel and another video. We haven't done anything in a while on either of the cars. They just kind of sat dormant over the winter, but now we're getting back into it and finally getting ready to go on both of them. So if you guys have been following the channel for a while, about 2 years ago, I put JOM blue line coilovers on this car. I got them for ridiculously cheap and they were much better than the completely blown suspension that I had on the car. So I went with those, had them for I think about 2 years and finally gotten to the point where they are toast. They do not function like normal suspension anymore. Struts are blown. So we have a set of BC Racing coilovers to go on this thing. This is like the final piece of the suspension puzzle. I've been slowly restoring all the suspension on this car. So pretty much everything in the front is brand new. Control arms, sway bar end links, sway bar bushings. Pretty much everything brake. The only thing that's left are the JOM blue lines. So those are the fronts. If we go back here, this actually was more recently done. Subframe reinforcement, trailing arm reinforcement, limited slip differential, the works on the rear end, everything new dust shields, redid the brakes. Everything's pretty much brand new in the back, except for the coilovers. So we're gonna be replacing those today. We are also in a new shop. Part of the problem why I wasn't making any videos was because I was trying to find a place to actually work on cars. So we're finally in a garage and able to actually start wrenching on stuff. Like I said, we're putting BC Racings on it. There's a big difference between the BCs and the JOMs. The JOMs use the factory strut tube. This is how it comes from the factory, and then it just connects to the knuckle down there. The BCs will actually cut this off and then just weld the hub to the BC coilover, and everything kind of gets converted. And I already have a shop ready to weld it. The wheels are getting powder coated, and we are also gonna be doing a stud conversion kit. These cars come with lug bolts. We're gonna be doing a stud and a lug nut setup. I don't really like the lug bolt, and I think the studs are just easier. So we're gonna be swapping those out as well while we're doing the coilovers and changing the wheel color. So the car is already on jack stands, got the wheels off. We are pretty much ready to go and start removing all the old suspension out so we can get everything broken down. And then we'll be able to go get the new coils welded on. But first things first, I want to open up the BC box and kind of see all the components that we have and everything we're gonna be replacing. Okay, you guys, we got the coilovers unboxed. They look so good. I really like the gold and the black theme. I think it'll go well with the wheel color that we're choosing for this car. So we got everything. We got our wrenches. These are pads for the trailing arms for the springs to sit on. We got the springs for the rear. These nice, all like aluminum machined. These are the rear shocks. They, front and rear, have 32-way adjustable dampening, so 16 hard, 16 soft. So these are the rears. These will just bolt in. These are the fronts, and these are where we'll have to weld them onto the new hubs. So really shouldn't be that difficult. Pre-adjusted, preloaded. I did not do the upgraded Swift springs. I might revisit in the future, but it just wasn't that big of a deal for me because it's not really like a dedicated track car. And then these also have camber plates and adjustable dampening like the rear. All right, well, we got everything unboxed. They look great. I'm excited to put them on. I had the same coilovers on the 335, actually. I've had those for a while. Fantastic, I love them. So I think I'll do really good on the E30. They're great coilovers for the money. I know you can get better coilovers, KWV3s, so on, Olin's, whatever, Fortune 500. But for the money, I think these are great. They should perform perfectly how I want them to. So first things first, we are going to dismantle the front suspension, pull everything out. We have to get everything stripped off of this, and then we'll be able to get the new ones put on. But we're gonna go ahead and start with the front and take this driver's side corner out first. 30, 45 minutes, the tie rod finally came out. The tie rod puller I got off from O'Reilly's destroyed the tie rod end. So that's my fault. I should have put a nut on there. So now we're doing new tie rods as well. So we just got to get the control arm out and then unbolt from the top, and we're good to go. Alright you guys, it's actually the next day. It took me a long time to get the tie rods and the control arms out of the hub. I just replaced them not that long ago, but I didn't use any anti-seize, which probably would have been a smart idea. So going back together, I will be using anti-seize in case I have to take it apart again. But everything was rusted together. We finally got everything out on both sides actually. So basically, tie rod nut had to come out. I destroyed both tie rods, so those will be getting replaced. Control arm nut, and then I undid the sway bar links so that the control arm could move enough. And then it's just these top 313 nuts, and they both came out. The difference on these versus the passenger side versus the driver's side, the wheel hub actually has to come off to weld the new coilover on. If you can see right there, that pretty much gap, that's where this will get cut off, and then the new coilover will get welded on. So I pulled the wheel hub off. This is a 36mm nut. If you can get a thin wall socket, that made it easier. It came off pretty easy while being in the car. This one came out, and then I decided to do this one in the car, which was easier. So this will probably be a struggle on the floor, but you basically pull the wheel hub off. Mine just came off. You don't have to press them off or anything. And then the dust shield comes off. It's 3 10mm bolts, and that's pretty much it. It's pretty much stripped down here, and then this will be getting cut off again, and we'll have to take the strut out of the strut tube, the spring, the top mount, all of that will be getting replaced. Pretty much we're only gonna be reusing this half. So the half with the spindle. So we need to get this one broken down as well, which will probably be a big pain because it's not secured to anything, so it's on the floor. So I'm going to attempt to do this real quick, and then we are going to strip down the rest of the suspension and basically just have our cores that will get welded to the coilovers. And then the front will get cleaned up, obviously, while everything's out. And then after that, we're gonna move on to the rears, which should take 5 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this hub off real quick, and then we will strip down the rest of the coilover. Alright you guys, well it took me a good minute to get everything apart, but we got the wheel hub out. I actually had to bolt the strut back into the car because I couldn't get enough leverage. But once I got that, then I ran into the problem of having to get a hub puller. Got the hub puller, pulled the bearing off, and the race stayed on the spline. So I'm gonna have to get that pulled off at some point. The other one's good to go. I definitely recommend replacing your wheel bearings if you're doing this. They have to come off anyways, so you might as well replace them. Mine are super crusty, both of them, probably original, so they need to get replaced. I finally got the shock tubes out. I struggled with this for a minute. It's just hard to get that nut off the top with keeping the strut from spinning, but finally got them off. You can see they are covered in like hydraulic fluid, I guess. They definitely were leaking pretty bad, so there's no wonder they were gone. Top hats are toast too. Everything's just very, very worn. So everything's ready to go. Those we will take up to my buddy's shop and get those cut off and welded onto the new coilovers. I'm gonna clean all this up, pull the old tie rods out, get rid of those, get some new ones on order, clean everything up, get it ready to go. But the fronts are pretty much done. That stuff's ready to go. So we're gonna move to the rear. The rear is super simple. There's literally one nut on the back. I think it's a 17 millimeter, and then the spring just comes out, and then the two 10 millimeters in the trunk, and that's it. Then we're good to go. Also, if you guys are wondering, the front hub nut is a 36 millimeter thin wall socket. Makes it super easy. Honestly, they weren't on there that hard. The little caps kept all the corrosion out, so need to order new nuts, and everything will be good to go. So we're gonna start on the rear and get those out, and then clean everything up and take everything up to get welded. So let's start pulling those out. Alright, well, we got the rears out. Everything came out easy. 3 bolts, they drop out, and then the spring just comes off the trailing arm. Everything's out. This is all the old stuff. All the struts are blown. So, I got these all cleaned up. So, let's load these up, and we will also load the new front coilovers up, and we'll take them to get welded. All right, you guys, we're back at the shop. It's been a couple days. I had to wait to get the coilovers welded, so it took a couple days. And then in the meantime, I started to completely tear the car apart, to polish it, redo the trim. I have new bumpers to put on it. I also have new fenders, but I'm redoing everything because I was waiting, and that's what's happening. But we're ready to start going on the coilovers to finish that up, because I want to get it back on the ground and get all the trim put back on and have it ready to go. So these are the coilovers after they got welded. Basically, you unscrew the bottom half of the coil, cut the strut tube off right there, and then it actually slides over part of the strut tube, and then it just gets welded. Try and show you guys in better light. But that's pretty much it. I put paint on it so it wouldn't rust, repainted the whole thing, looks a lot better. So that's our bare stripped down knuckle. And then sway bar brackets had to get repainted because they were super rusty. We have new wheel bearing nuts, and then we got the coilovers, wheel stud kit from Garagistic, and then 2 new wheel bearings and 2 new tie rods. So we're pretty much ready to go put the car back together. So first things first, I'm gonna assemble these, and then we'll just start in the front. It's basically the same thing as assembling any other suspension. So let's just go ahead and get started with it. Alright, well, after putting half of it back together, I realized the camera was pointing way too far up. So, we got most of it back together. We got our new wheel bearings, new wheel nuts. Those are torqued to 210 foot-pounds, in case you're wondering. And then we got our new tie rods. Obviously, the car's gonna have to get completely realigned after this, but got that. Got our new sway bar brackets, and control arms in. Everything's pretty much back together, so I'm just gonna put the brake on real quick, and then the caliper and the rotor, and then we're gonna have to adjust these. I don't know if you noticed, but I made these way too short, so I had to back them out quite a bit to even connect to the control arm. So I don't think we'll have a problem going low, but just so you know, do not thread it that much. It's a waste of time. So let's put the brake back on, and we will see what it looks like. All right, everything's done. The brakes are on. This side's pretty much complete. The rears will be super easy. So we're gonna go ahead and knock out the other side, and then we will do the rear, and then we'll do the wheel studs and be done. And I'll show you guys the new wheel color that I got for this thing. Looks super good. So just to give you a preview, this is the before, and I will show you the after. All right, there we go. We got everything done in the front. Pretty simple, all straightforward. Everything same like the other side. The rears will be even easier. We pretty much just bolt the shock in and then put the spring on the trailing arm, and that's literally it. Let's go ahead and switch to the rears, get those knocked out real quick, and then we're gonna have to start playing with height and everything like that. These front ones are both set to the same height, and I'm probably just gonna leave the rears exactly how they came. And we'll just start with this ride height, and I'm gonna keep this preload as well. And then we will go from there, the wheel stud kit in, and we're done. So let's pop onto the rears. Okay, well, the rears are done. The rears were a bigger pain in the butt than I thought they were gonna be. I had to get a jack to get the trailing arm up to the coilover. Give you guys a look. So this is everything reinstalled. There's the coil spring with the adjuster. And then we got this back in there. And everything's tightened up top. And we're good to go. So that's everything in the rear done. And then here's everything in the front. All shiny and new. Got the strut brace back on. Everything's pretty much back together. And there's the rear again. So now we're ready to put the wheels on. But there's one thing I want to go over first. This is Garrogistics wheel stud kit. Get out of the light. This is they have it in 5x120 and 4x100, so 4 per side, including the lug nuts are this nice black anodized. We'll try them out, see how they are. I hate the wheel bolts that come on the car, and they're all rusted, and we're just gonna swap them out. These will be easier to mount the wheels as well. And then we have these are ABS block-off plates for the front and rear. We deleted the ABS in the front. The ABS doesn't work at all, but the rears are a little more tricky. I gotta like feed them in through the car to get rid of them. The fronts just come up through here, and I just kind of tucked it right here for now because you kind of have to cut it. They will eventually be deleted, but for now that's what we're doing. So we're gonna put the block off plates in the front and just hurry and put these wheel studs in. I'm gonna put some red Loctite on them, and then we'll just put them in like this, and that's literally it. So let's throw those on real quick, and then it is finally time for the wheels. All right, well, I didn't even bother filming the install on that because it was incredibly simple. It took me 5 minutes, but they're in. I think they look fantastic. Yeah, I mean, they look great. They're super simple to install, thread locker, and then 30 foot-pounds of torque, and you're good to go. So it is time for the reveal of the wheel color. I was gonna do a big reveal at the end, but I still have a lot of stuff to do on the car, so I'm probably just gonna show you guys the wheel color that I picked.
We are dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. Search but you stay lost.
Okay, well, there we have it. I went with bronze. I do like bronze. I think they look really good on white. This is called Highland Bronze, and then it's over a satin clear. I thought the satin would look really good on the gloss, so we did that. Got rid of the polished lip deal because they were black in the middle, and then with like a polished / machined lip. That's gone, all one color. That and the wheel studs, and their new ride height. The front might have to come down a little bit, but we'll see. And then the rear, that's straight out the box. So I think the rear is good to go. But the car's torn apart right now. These were white before. I didn't like it. I didn't like the white bumper trim, so I have black new trim for the rear bumper. These are getting painted. And then the silver window trim is also getting blacked out. I think it'll look really good on the white. It'll be a kind of a stormtrooper look. And then we got these grills getting redone as well. And the wiper arms got powder coated. Then we also have new front bumper with trim, the grills, and the blacked out grill in the front, which has been on there, but everything's kind of getting refreshed at the same time. I'll insert a driving clip of the car. Obviously I haven't taken it out yet because the windows aren't attached, but I'll insert a driving clip. I can already tell just from backing it out of the garage that it feels a million times better, so we'll see how it rides on the road, but I'm fairly confident it will be perfectly fine. So I'm gonna leave it there. I still have a lot of work to do on this thing, put it back together. If you guys don't follow me on Facebook or Instagram, hop over there. I'm gonna post more photos of this when it's done. And then we'll just see it in the next video. Getting it ready for a drive to Colorado, which hopefully it will survive because I'd like to go to E30 picnic this year in Washington. So we're gonna do a little test run to Colorado and see if it works. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. I recommend BC products all the time. People tend to talk crap on them because they're not Olin's or KW's. I love BC's. I've had them on 3 cars now. This is 4. Never had an issue with them. So hopefully you guys liked that video. Follow along. We're working on the 335 next. And then this thing's getting turbo parts, or it should. So anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one.